Okay, so the building right in front of me is the old Pasco Grammar School. It's now supposed to be luxury apartments, but this is where I went to 3rd grade. The school did have 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and kindergarten. The building you're looking at in front of me is the old Joseph C. Sweeney Schoolhouse. This is where I went to kindergarten. My classroom used to be on the right over there. The school was red back then. The flower pot they also preserved, and before they redid this intersection right over here, the flower pot used to be right in the middle and you had to go around it. But this is my old kindergarten. We used to have a fence around it, and we used to have recess sometimes in the back. So this is the Stillwater Mill Complex. It's now home to several businesses, including the new Jesse Smith Library Complex and a little park across the street. So sorry about the noise, but apparently it's lawn mowing day and landscaping day here at the mill complex. But back in its heyday, Burrillville used to be a huge textile mill town. When the textile mill era went strong, Burrillville had tons of textile mills, unfortunately most of which have burnt or have been torn down. So the Stillwater Mill Complex you see behind me is part of the old textile mills. This had originally burnt in the 90s. Not sure exactly when the mill stopped being a textile mill, but it was built along the river, and the towns actually did a good job of restoring the mill and restoring the old clock tower to signify some of Burrillville's history. But Burrillville had lots of textile mills, but also back in its heyday, Burrillville used to be a huge metropolis. They had a horse racing facility down over on where Route 102, or actually Route 100 and 102 meet, which is now over where the Bayberry Nursing Homes is. Also, this is Harrisville, one of the little villages. And if you wondered about Harrisville, if you ever heard of the movie The Conjuring, about a haunted house here in Burrillville, this is the town that it actually takes place in. It's supposedly a true story, and I'm not going to show you where that is to protect the privacy. Okay, so the Stillwater Mill Complex was built along the Stillwater River. Before they rebuilt this mill complex, you could not walk along the river, and I'll have to check because they used to stock this with trout back in the day when I used to live in Burrillville, and they used to also have canoe races through here when I was a kid, all the way down through Glendale. But this is the Stillwater Mill Complex in the back end, also the river that runs along it. I'm going to show you the waterfall and such in just a minute. Now over in front of me is Freedom Park. This used to be the site of the Burrillville Arts and Crafts Festival. When I was growing up, this park did not really exist. They just had one monument, and it was also pretty much a gravel lot. Back in the day, before they rebuilt the dam, it used to be all loose stones and also big huge bricks. And before they put up this fence that's behind me, we used to climb out on the rocks and sit under the falls to keep cool on very hot days. Okay, so now we're starting to drive through Spring Lake. This is the lake that I grew up on. Down over here is the cove section where you launch your boats. It's all been built up over the years. Some of these houses did not exist. And even the little fishing spot here is all grown up. You really can't fish there anymore. Now, when they widened the road, they destroyed this rock. This rock right here used to actually be a lot taller, and it actually had an Indian head picture painted on it, but the town destroyed it when they decided to widen this road. So now we're coming up on this section of Black Hut Road that I grew up on. This is the street that I grew up on. One street going through the neighborhood and around the lake. And some of it's changed, some of it's not changed. This street light right here is where we used to play street hockey all night. This is my old house. I lived here when I was 3 years old up until the time I was 14. The addition that's on the back over there did not exist. It was just this section right here, and my bedroom was this whole upstairs. It used to have a front porch that my dad closed in when I was a kid. This has all been built up. Some of these cottages existed, but now they're bigger houses. Some of them are all new. Now this changed a bit. These 3 fields we used to play baseball and kickball in, all the way up and back, has grown up a little bit. Over to the side here, that old well we used to climb on, and we used to ride our mini bikes around it. But when I was a kid, my first job was cleaning these parking lots for Spring Lake Beach. All right. Apparently this is all changed. We're gonna have to go back up and park. Beach is closed this time of year, so I'm just going to park right here a second. Okay, so I'm only going to spend a minute or two here since the beach is closed this time of year, but this place has really changed since I grew up here as a kid. I'm going to come up on the new entrance to the beach over here, which did not exist when I was a kid. You used to have to enter through down the hill. So back when I was a kid, the beach was owned by the Poiriers, and then it was owned by Mike Stearns, and his father George Stearns actually ran the Penny Arcade that used to be here. As we're walking down now, this is the old entrance to the beach. I used to enter down through this hill, and this house right now is the house that George Stearns and his wife used to stay at during the summer. There were all dressing rooms all further down there. This building actually went down there, but it used to also swing way over there. The fence they put up is actually kind of hard to see. I'm trying to get a better angle here. All right, so I'm hoping this is giving a better angle, but there used to be a huge dock that went out. There used to be diving boards. There used to be slides and a kiddie dock. Used to have an old Penny Arcade through here and a snack bar, ice cream stand. And they used to actually also have cottages that you could rent on the beach. And way down on that side there was the YMCA beach that the Woonsocket YMCA used to own and bus people in. But this is the old beach. Looks nothing like when I was a kid. Actually, Spring Lake Beach has got a long history. Back in the 50s, 60s, they had a lot of amusement rides here. Also, back in the 70s and 80s when I grew up around here, this was actually the place to be. This place was packed during the summer. You couldn't walk without stepping on a blanket. I worked the snack bar for a little bit. I did trash cleanup. Matter of fact, my first job was at this beach when I was about 7, 8 years old. I used to pick up the trash in all the parking lots. And this used to be a parking lot up through here as well with the bathrooms. And I used to get paid $1 an hour. Back when I was 8 years old, that was back in 1979. So this was the place to be at. The beach has really changed since I left Burrillville about 20 years ago and since I grew up. This is still part of Spring Lake Road. It's actually a dead end. Now, when I grew up here, this was all dirt, and some of these driveways you're passing by didn't exist, but I'm going to see if the old YMCA ball field was here. Because this old ball field, we used to play baseball in sometimes, and it's right about where this red sign is. Actually, now they put up a fence and it's all grown in. It's not even a field anymore. There used to be a baseball backstop through there. Now, this part that I'm driving into is still dirt road. These are all state hunting lands. Once you get beyond the private property of this house. This sign is new. There's a historical cemetery back here. Okay, so now we're walking in on the old cemetery where that sign is. I do remember this old cemetery now. Burrillville has a lot of old cemeteries to give you a sense of how old Burrillville is and some of the history through here. There is one old gravestone, and I do remember this being here. These stones through here are grave markers themselves. But give you kind of sense, camera's picking up better than what I can read it. So, looks like it's Carolyn LeVake died November 7th, 1918. Actually, this one's not that old. At the age of 43, gone but not forgotten. So this one here is not as old as some of the other ones. But I do remember this grave being back here now. And you got some stone walls throughout here that actually was used for property markers back in the day. Back through the right of this dirt road was an old junkyard. Had cars in here from the 1940s all the way up through the 1970s and 80s. And this right here is the dead end. This was all state hunting lands, part of Black Hut Management Area. I hunted a little bit through here. Now, I'm not going to walk it today. It's actually a very far walk, but if you go down through that area and continue on for about a mile or two, and then take a right on another dirt road, there was an old pond. Okay, so now we're at the third entrance to Spring Lake Beach, what we call the three entrances to this side of the lake. This is going to show you the other side of Spring Lake Beach. Also, what used to be the YMCA beach. So this is the other side of the beach. Where that building is, there used to be a red barn style building where they had bingo every night. But they've since combined this all into one beach now. And over here was the parking lot to the wide beach. So the road going up through here used to have a red cottage. Apparently this is a campground now, and still has these old stone walls that have been here for a long time. And then the road continued on to that baseball field that I showed you. So up through there, which is now posted with no trespassing, was a trail that ran a little ways up. There used to be an old truck with spoked wood tires up through there that was all stripped, and once you got to the top of the hill, there used to be this underground house, we called it. It was kind of like a cellar area that had a fireplace and some old hanging hooks. I was told that the old underground house no longer exists. They had since tore it up, but it did have a date on it of 18 something or another. It was back in the 1800s. So this is the start of Black Hut Road, which we used to call the first entrance to Spring Lake. I'm not sure how long these stone gates have been here. They were here all through when I was a kid, and I've actually climbed all over these. Now, when I was a kid, this one here was not visible. It was all covered over, but they since cleaned it up. The one that I used to climb all over also is over here, which is now since covered up all by vines. Back in the day, you had two clear markers, except for that one was more overgrown. They since cleaned this one up. Like I said, I don't know how old these are. They were here in the 70s and 80s when I grew up through here. We're in another section over at the spot of Spring Lake Beach. This pine tree right here used to be an extension over here. This is one of the first pine trees that I actually learned to climb. This is another historical cemetery within the town over on Spring Lake. And there used to be a way to get in here, but since they've built this house, they took the entrance down. But we'll see if we can get over this wall just a little bit here. I'll show you some of the grave markers and how old this cemetery actually is. Okay, so we're inside the graveyard now. This is the historical cemetery where I grew up. See some of the dates on the gravestone here. 1886 on that one. This one here you can still barely read. 1805 through 1828. And hopefully the camera is actually picking up what they used to put on these gravestones. Some of them I can't even read anymore. This one here is 1839 through 1928. Some of these are just little tiny markers that they used to use when kids used to die or before they actually started writing on gravestones. This one here looks like 1853. 1831. My parents' dear, shake of that beer, no longer wait for me. My Savior calls, life curtain falls, his beauties now I see. Young people all, hear this loud call, no age from death is free. Embrace the truth while in your youth, prepare to follow me. So they used to put a lot of sayings on here. This one here is quite old, 1831, but I can't read what it says. This one here is 1876. Lo, where the silent marble weeps, a friend, a wife, a companion sleeps, beloved, affectionate, and kind, now gone, a home with Christ to find, gone but not forgotten. This one here is 1898. Some little markers here that this one just has the initials SJ. Got some old stone markers over here that do not have any writing on them. Burrillville is just full of these historical cemeteries. This one's 1834. Okay, so this next area I'm going to show you may or may not be of interest to you, but it was part of my childhood as a kid. That area right up there, that huge rock structure. We used to hide up there, spy on the other kids as they were riding their bikes on the road, spy on the people fishing, and well, we made a little bit of fun. We're going to go check this out real quick. I can't climb like I used to, so I don't think I'm going to go all the way to the top or even try to climb it. But we'll just explore around a little bit of it. Spent a lot of times in that rock structure. That was our fort. where we hung out at, where we did kid things, you know, growing up back in the 70s and 80s. Now remember, we did not have internet back then, so this was our playground. So yeah, up through here, all this rock structure. This is actually state property. It's not hunting season, and I'm still close to the road, so I don't have to worry about the fact that I'm not wearing orange right now. We used to play all up in these rocks. Back through here, this was all a quarry. Even Spring Lake was quarry at one time. So that's why a lot of these rocks were here. Spring Lake used to be a quarry. They used to get all granite stones out here and such. So yeah, my days of rock climbing are over, but I'll show you one of these little lower areas. Now imagine as a kid climbing through there and hiding up through there. I can get a better angle of how far up it actually goes. But yeah, we used to climb and hide all through here. Now, as a kid, I used to dig old bottles up through here. In fact, here's one right here. See if I can wipe it off a little bit. IBC soft drink. Here's a screw top, so it's not actually that old. Still got some of the label on it. So yeah, we'll just put it back there for the next person to find. But IBC, that's not actually that old. This is what the backside looks like. We used to hide underneath this rock right over here. So as you can see, all the rocks and stuff that go up through that way, we used to hide all through up in there. We used to play all up in there. Found a lot of old bottles up in there back in the day. I don't know how many old bottles still exist through here, but it looks like there's some recent bottles, so people still do come up here and party like we used to do when we were teenagers. This possibly could be an old cellar hole, but yeah, this is where we used to play when I was a kid, all up through these rocks. We had some forts up in these rocks.